Yesterday, since it was so beautiful out, actually it was initiated by my brother-in-law. My dad, my brother, and my brother-in-law and I all went out and played some golf. And I really, really enjoy golfing. Once upon a time, I golfed often, like once or twice a week. Now it's been once or twice a year for the last several times. And so I got a chance to get outside. That's why I'm kind of like beat red right now. I got a chance to get outside, play some golf yesterday. And as I did, you know, there's a lot of similarities, I believe, in life and even faith and in the game of golf. So I don't know if you're a sports fan. I don't know if you're a golfer. If you're not, then you won't be able to see through my amateur status. But so just bear with me. But I want to give you some pointers on the game of golf. So maybe you'll go out and start taking it up today. I don't know. Well, probably not today because it's gonna be storming in a minute. All right. But here's the deal. If you're going to learn to golf, the first thing they're going to do before you learn how to swing the club, before you learn any of the fundamentals, before you learn any of that, the first thing you have to do is you have to address the ball, right? You have to approach the ball. And here's some really, really important things when it comes to approaching the ball, okay? First thing is that your stance and your grip, they need to be secure, okay? They need to be secure. So you don't want someone to be able to push you over. A breeze shouldn't be able to push you over. You need to be secure. I know golf has a reputation of not being like the toughest guy sport. I get that, right? But when your stance for golf is much like an athletic stance, a sports stance, right? It's very similar to a baseball, a shortstop stance, or a volleyball, a serve receive, or football, a linebacker. Just maybe a little less intimidating, right? But you got to have a secure stance. You don't want to be falling over. You got to have something secure. Your grip is the same way, right? You don't want somebody to be able to rip this out. You don't want it to be wishy-washy. If you just came up to the ball and was like, all right, here we go. We're just going to give it our best shot and just kind of fling it, it's not going to work, right? If you've ever played golf, you know that's not going to work. You need a secure stance, right? But you can't be too secure. You don't want, in the moment that your knuckles start turning white, it's time to relax a little bit, right? Okay, so you address the ball, you got it nice and secure, but the second thing is you also got to relax. One of the mistakes of many newbies in golf is that you tighten up too much. The nerves get you, and so you squeeze that really, really tight, and when your hands squeeze tight, then your arms get tight, and your shoulders get tight, and your back gets tight, and all of a sudden you're just like trying to chop it like an axe, okay? Everything gets tight, and and you know what happens? Is usually you don't even hit the ball, okay? Once you're all that tight, nothing good is going to happen. Let me just tell you what. The goal is to let the club do the work. It's a phrase in golf, maybe you've heard that, but let the club do the work. It's got a big old mallet at the end of the stick. Use centrifugal force. Use science. Man, I really don't want to hit something. That would be super embarrassing. All right. Use science to your advantage, right? You just want to relax and let the club do the work, right? Now, here's the thing. If the moment that you start getting nervous, you start getting tense, all of a sudden your back gets tense, all that kind of stuff, you're trying, what happens is you want to try to control it, right? I want to muscle it. I'm gonna force it. And you don't relax and let the club do the work. You're trying to do the work instead. Now, some of you already know where I'm going with this, don't you? Like in our approach to life, listen, in our approach to life, especially as Christians, there is a certain level of security, not just that we should have, but that we can have and ought to have through Christ. Like so many of us, we go through life and when we approach life, we do so with this timid, just kind of like, oh, we're just going to kind of hope that something works, and somebody can just push you over in a minute, okay? Listen, there is security, not arrogance, there is security, there is confidence in who God is, not in how great I am, not in, because listen, your stance needs to be secure. It doesn't matter how good you are. My goal is to let the club do the work. When it comes to life, when it comes to our faith, listen, we got to just relax. We just got to relax. Be secure. Be confident. But I got to regularly tell myself in life, you know what? I just got to relax. The moment I get tense, the moment I start trying to control outcomes, the moment I try to muscle my way through difficult circumstances, guess what? It never turns out well. And can I just remind you, friends, Sometimes secure. I'm not saying be wishy-washy. Be secure. Be confident. But friends, we got to relax and let God do the work. The moment you try to control your outcomes, the moment you try to take it and strong-arm it, and you grip life, and you grip that circumstance, you grip that scenario super tight, and you try to navigate every little thing, and you get all tense, friends, you are eliminating the ability for God to do what God wants to do. So we got to relax. Be secure, but relax and let God do what he's going to do. Let God do all the work. All right, that's before you even learn how to swing a club, okay? It's the way that we approach it. It's the way we approach life. Secure and relaxed. Now, there's a lot of fundamentals we're going to go through, and I'm not going to teach you how to swing a golf club today, okay? But once you learn all of those fundamentals of the swing and the tempo and all that kind of stuff, now you're ready to get out to the course. You're ready to get out there. And so there's something that's really important. Like, it's one thing to hit balls on a driving range or chip in your yard, but once you get out on the course, once you want to challenge your friend, or you get in a tournament or a league, or you just want to go out and shoot your best round, you need a game plan. You need a game plan. And here's, no matter how good you are, I mean, your game plan is going to get more and more evolved the more experience you have, right? But the game plan is relatively simple. Here's a couple things that are going to help you form a game plan. One is rely on your training, okay? Don't get drastic. Don't hear I'm mixing a sports metaphors here. You don't have to try to throw a Hail Mary every single time you step up to the ball, right? Rely on your training. And the second thing is just stick to the fundamentals. Now, those 4 little tips, so simple. Secure but relaxed, rely on your training, and stick to the fundamentals. Very, very simple. But if you guys, how many of you guys have ever been on a golf course and golfed before? Let me see a show, okay? We got a number of you. It is so crazy hard to do those 4 things, right? You step up to that ball and you see a big old fairway out in front of you. I know the answer is to stand secure but relaxed, let the club do all the work. And I don't know how many times this exact scenario has gone through my head, right here. Relax, swing easy, relax, swing easy. Relax, swing easy, relax, swing easy, relax, right there. And inevitably shake it off into the woods, right? Every single time. I don't know what it is about it. But we do the same thing in life sometimes, don't we? Right? It's like, okay, I got this. God's got this. Just lean into him. Just trust him. Yeah, okay, I'm confident in him, okay? Just relax. Just let go. Just relax. Let God do the work. I can't control it. I can't control it. I can't control it. I'm going to control it, right? And right at the minute, like we just, something we got to remember is in a game of golf, a game is usually not won or lost in one stroke. Right? A tournament is not won or lost in one stroke. It's consistent stroke after consistent stroke after consistent stroke. And yet we want to just win it all with every single swing of the club. Friends, sometimes we do the same thing. Every single thing that comes up, like I've got to knock it out of the park. Friends, faithfulness goes a long way. Consistency goes a long way. This life, we're in it for the long haul. Right? We're playing the long game here. Friends, we got to be careful that we don't try to take control. We don't try to overpower. We don't try to strong arm our circumstances. And we don't let any room for God to do the work. You know, we've been studying through Philippians chapter 1, and I love it. We've been studying the teaching of Paul, but look at his just approach to life. Look at his approach to just spiritual things. We see this very thing, right? And I think it's verse 6 or so. He says, confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. Like there was a security, there was a confidence. Man, when he approached life, he stepped on up with confidence. He wasn't going to get shaken. He wasn't going to get pushed over. But then we look at verse 18, and in the midst of trial, in the midst of setbacks, in the midst of opposition, he says, well, what does it matter? Hey, but what does it matter? I'm going to choose to rejoice. Listen, yeah, I'm going to be secure, but you know what? I just got to relax and let God do what he's going to do, because me strong-arming this situation, me growing all tense and trying to control things is just going to make matters worse. Now, it's hard enough when you have a wide-open fairway to remember those 4 simple rules. But when the wind starts blowing, you get 20-mile-an-hour winds right into your head, into your head, into your face, whatever, right at you. And what do you think? I know I can reach that green, but I better swing super, super hard because the wind's coming at me, right? Okay, if you know nothing about golf, if you've learned these 4 things, is that a good idea? No. And yet, inevitably, that wind starts blowing, and we start gripping really tight, and we start controlling the scenario. It's in those moments that when you do that, you're going to mishit it. And when you're mishitting into the wind, it's going to be exponentially dangerous. It's in adverse conditions that we need to stick to the foundation, stick to the fundamentals, stick to the basics more than ever, but it's in those adverse conditions that it's harder than ever to do so. Right? I shank one out over into the trees. Right? Know my training, all right? Rely on your training, fundamentals. You know what? But if I take a driver and try to hit a driver out of the woods under the tree and get a little snap hook on the end of it, you golfers know what I'm talking about. I'm never going to do that shot, right? And yeah, I'm going to try it just because adverse situations, I'm going to do something drastic. No. Stick to the fundamentals. Listen, this is in 1 Thessalonians, Paul writes to, I know we've been studying Philippians, but 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, Paul is writing to the church of Thessalonica, and he had just written a letter. And the church in Thessalonica, they had some problems, some obstacles, some adverse weather conditions, spiritually speaking, okay? The 2 major conditions that they were having, the 2 major setbacks they were having is, one, they were undergoing some very, very real persecution. And it was hard. They were facing some challenging things. But 2 is they were also facing this false teaching, some false doctrine that was circulating, and they're asking Paul, what do we do with all this? And is this true? And how do we know? And in Paul's first letter, 1 Thessalonians, he addresses both of those issues. But then, shortly thereafter, the same things come up. And I love what Paul says in 2 Thessalonians. So he writes another letter shortly after the first one. And he says in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 15, he says, "So then, brothers and sisters, stand firm and hold fast to the teachings we passed on to you, whether by word of mouth or by letter." I love this. Basically what he's saying is this. Listen, you're writing about the same problem. You're writing about the conditions around you are not favorable. You're writing about all these things. I don't have anything else to tell you. Do what you know. Rely on your training and stick to the fundamentals. I already told you how to weather this. You know this. You've been trained in this. I've spoken this to you. I've written this to you. It's right there for you. Just walk this out. You don't need anything drastic. You don't need to be doing anything drastic. Just keep hitting the ball forward. Keep making contact. It's in these adverse times where things get changed, and when the winds of life are blowing, that we want to try to take control. We think that if I just tense up enough, if I squeeze hard enough, that I can change the outcome. Friend, you cannot change the outcome of your circumstance. It's not dependent on you. You can do some things to navigate it, sure, but ultimately God's the one who's going to dictate the outcome of whatever you're facing today. Our role, stand firm. Stand secure. The wind's going to blow. Stand secure. The adverse conditions are coming. Stand secure. You know what? Relax. I love that. In the security that Paul had, rejoice. Yeah, I'm in prison, but rejoice. And I'm going to say it again in case you don't get it. Rejoice. Friends, today is a day for rejoicing. Today is a day to celebrate God's goodness. And you know what? If we couldn't be here today and we were online and can't get together for the next year, let me tell you what, today would still be a day for God to celebrate God's goodness. Man, we can't do it on our own. So we got to stick to the game plan. What's the game plan? What's the game plan? Let's just keep it really, really simple, okay? Do you guys remember the last series that we taught through right before our online before we went online, this whole COVID-19 thing? Do you guys remember what it was? We talked about our core values, but more than anything, we talked about the actions and the characteristics of a disciple. 3 things. We spent like 6 weeks, 7 weeks on it. 3 things. Pursue the heart of God, embrace the family of God, and respond to the call of God. Friends, it's not time. We don't need to panic. Maybe in the game of life, we're stuck behind a tree, behind some water, and the winds are blowing, it's starting to rain. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this situation. Listen, I'll tell you how to get out of the situation. We don't need drastic measures. We need faithful people who just do those 3 things. You don't know where to go next. You don't know what your next swing is going to look like. You don't know what your next action is going to look like. You don't know what is going to be around the next corner. Okay, fine. Do these 3 things. Pursue God's heart. How are you pursuing God's heart right now? In the midst of all that's going on, my prayer is that though we haven't been able to meet regularly, that you have found creative ways to pursue the heart of God right in your home and right in the midst of the normal routine of your life. My prayer is that you've developed a new spiritual disciplines and new practices where you can experience the presence of God. Man, for me this week, on days where I feel overwhelmed, you ever get there? Overwhelmed by the news, or overwhelmed by what's happening around you, or just overwhelmed by the events of life, I've got a short list of worship songs that I'll just go to. Like, man, I just need to worship God, and I'll go to my worship playlist and be like, I just need to be reminded of the goodness of God. Friends, my prayer is that you would pursue the heart of God in the midst of everything that's going on right now, and that you would embrace the family of God. I am so proud to be a part of this church. The way that I've seen this lived out has been incredible. And maybe you haven't engaged as much, but let me just challenge you. There's still time. Doesn't matter where you're at right now or how you're feeling right now. Will you take that next step? Will you stick to the fundamentals and just say, hey, man, I'm going to embrace the family of God? What happens is when we isolate ourselves, I know there's a bit of isolation natural, but we can do things to engage one another. When we find ourselves in isolation, we become very, very, even more so, self-centered. And in that self-centeredness, we begin to deteriorate spiritually and emotionally. Friends, this encouragement from Scripture to embrace the family of God is not just a good idea. It will bring health to you spiritually and emotionally. So embrace the family of God. And third, respond to the call of God. In the midst of what we're facing right now, there is so much need. Where are you seeing that need, and how are you meeting it? I mean, we see need all around us, whether it's COVID-19 before or after it, there will always be need around us. How are you responding to the voice of God? The thing is, you'll never get to that point if you don't do the first one, right? We've got to pursue the heart of God and listen to His voice. So here's my encouragement to us today. Like, stick to the game plan. Stick to the game plan. Man, the opposition makes it hard. The eloquent philosopher once said, the eloquent philosopher Mike Tyson put it really, really great. He said everybody has a game plan until you get punched in the mouth. Right? And there's some of us today in the midst of everything that's going on right now, you're like, man, me and God were good. We had this game plan. Things are going well. I was doing all the things. I was pursuing God's heart. I was embracing His family. I was responding to His call, but I just got punched in my mouth. And the game plan went out the window. Friends, let me just encourage you. Let's get back to the fundamentals. Let's get back to what it means to be a disciple. Let's get back to what it means to be a Christian. Let's get back to what it means to be a follower of Christ. You find yourself in a place you don't want to be. Listen, God's still there, so just make the next good choice. And pursue the heart of God. Embrace the family of God. And respond to the call of God. Friends, I'm excited for what God is doing. Can you see what He's doing? Can you see Him active? Can you see His engagement in our world today? Let's continue to look for God in every circumstance, in everything we do. And friends, again, we're playing a long game. The game is not won or lost based on what happens today. So let's be faithful to what we know. Let's rely on our trailer and stick to the fundamentals.